Hello and welcome to the weekly MG podcast, streaming live on Monday, the 12th of July, 2021. We're here to talk about MG electric vehicles, MG ZS, MG5 and MG HS, and we're hoping to inform and entertain you for about an hour or so. I'm Miles Roberts, my username is Miles per kilowatt hour on the forum, and joining us this week are the following MG owners. From Wigan, we have Les Burrows.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Les Burrows on the forum.
From Oxfordshire, we have Matthew Todd.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm Fudge on the forums.
From South Wales, we've got Michael Fisher.
Hi, username Fished on the forums.
From near Kettering, we've got Mike Proctor.
Hi, Mike on the forum.
And from North Warwickshire, we've got Dave Bell.
FCAT53 on the forum.
If you're watching live, thank you for joining us, and please hit the like button and join in on the discussion in the chat window. If you're watching later, thank you for choosing to watch this video, and please subscribe to get a notification when we go live next time. In tonight's podcast, we're going to chat about the MG5 refresh. So we're going to be discussing about the MG Pilot, potentially bigger battery, and what's coming on with it. So hopefully, if I share my screen, we might be able to actually do this. So this is what we've been fooling around with before, trying to get it working. Hopefully that's working now. So we're going to discuss the MG5 Long Range. So this has been announced at the death, basically, of business on Friday. So the MG5 Long Range, this is similar to the one which was announced in Europe. It's going on sale in Europe later this year. In the UK, we've had the MG5 now for coming up towards sort of 9 months, and we've decided, MG UK have decided to put the technology from the new facelift version into the UK right-hand drive version. So there's going to be a new model launched called the MG5 Long Range. One thing, first of all, is that's how it's going to look. It's going to look identical to the current model, so there's no physical changes happening. On the outside, there's some tech changes on the inside. So the long range version is going to come with MG Pilot suite as a standard on both the Excite and Exclusive models. It's also going to have a bigger battery, and on the Exclusive model, it's going to have some heavy duty 75 kilo load limit roof rails. So the contentious point on the previous MG5 was that the roof rails were only capable of holding a fairly low load of 35 kilos. On this new long range version, they've been upgraded and they're going to take up to 75 kilos, which makes it look more practical for a lot of users. As I said before, it's going to be aesthetically identical. So the facelift version, which is launching in Europe in left-hand drive, isn't coming to the UK yet. That's due to homologation changes between UK and Europe. You can't homologate in left-hand drive and have it ticked for right-hand drive. They've got to homologate and crash test and everything, the vehicle separately. And so the right-hand drive version we're getting now will look cosmetically the same as the current model, but it will have the higher rate battery and things of the European model. We're expecting we will get a facelift. It's probably going to be sort of end of next year that the MG5 in the right-hand drive market will get the same look as in Europe. There's still no towing capacity on this model. Again, that's down to homologation limitations. So if your car is homologated in right-hand drive, they can change certain things. So certain trim changes can occur without needing homologation. But for things like tow bars, that would require re-homologating, and that would add a lot of cost and delay onto this. So that's why there's still no towing capacity at this time. And it will retain the 7 kilowatt single phase AC charger and the roughly 80 kilowatts CCS DC rapid charge limit as the current model. So just delving into the actual sort of numbers on this then. So the this little table shows the current Excite and Exclusive model. And then on the right hand side there, you can see the long range version, compare it to it. So the price has increased on both models. It's actually increased by £1,400 on both specifications. For that, you get MG Pilot, which gives you your active emergency braking with pedestrian and bicycle detection. It gives you lane keep assist with lane departure warning system, traffic jam assist, intelligent speed limit assist, and intelligent high beam assist. So that means it can read speed limit signs as you're driving along, and it's got the intelligent feature. So if you're not using cruise control, you can flick the stalk back like you do on the ZS, and that gives you the option to use the intelligent speed limit system. So it reads the speed limit signs, and then it can limit the vehicle to that speed. Intelligent high beam, so it will automatically do your high beam for you. And you can see the changes. So it's got adaptive cruise control. That's part of MG Pilot as well. One spec change that I noticed on this, and I've just highlighted here, the auto dimming rear view mirror will be standard on both Excite and Exclusive. Currently it's only on the Exclusive model. And also on the Excite, it has just 2 USB ports in the driver's compartment. On the Long Range, it's going to have the 4 USB ports. It's going to have the 2 mounted at the back of the central armrest as well for rear passengers. So they're fairly minor changes, but upgrades nonetheless for the Excite model. So all those features adding on for £1,400. Now, to give you an idea, ProPilot on Nissan, which is effectively the same sort of suite of safety equipment, if you add that as an option, it's £450 just for that on a Nissan Leaf. So that's sort of taking care of, say, let's say £400 of the uplift in price we see on the models there. But as I said, there's also a battery increase. So hopefully you can see on this screen, the battery capacity is described as 52.5 kilowatt hours nominal on the standard range MG5. That's being increased to 61.1 kilowatt hours. The usable capacity is going from 48.8 up to 57.7 kilowatt hours. So that's an increase of around just about 9 kilowatt hours. So if you're getting, say, 4 miles per kilowatt hour, it's going to give you a range of 36 miles extra on your range, which then ties in with the later figures. Down, you'll see highlighted in red, the combined WLTP mileage has gone from 214 miles to 250. And on city range, because we may have seen, if you're an MG5 owner at the moment, you've probably seen that often in summer and in driving on A roads and things, I've noticed I've been able to get much better mileage than 214. The old one was claimed to be 276 miles on a city cycle. So if you're a taxi driver, that sort of thing, or doing a lot of short journeys, 276 was expected. That's now gone up to 335 miles, which is a massive increase, but potentially means that, for the taxi market, it's a really, really good option. And then you can see right at the very bottom there, the curb weight's just gone up by about 15 kilos due to the additional mass of the onboard sensors and things and the cameras required for MG Pilot. And obviously that maximum roof rail load has increased from 35 kilos to 75. I've just realized that I've put Excite and the numbers in the Excite box as well. Obviously, it's just the Exclusive that has roof rails. Apologies for that. So what's happening with the current model? Well, the current model will continue to be sold until all stocks in the UK are depleted. So initially, the MG5 Long Range is being introduced alongside, but once they've sold out of all the original stock, the MG5 Long Range will be the only option. In terms of colours, it's available in exactly the same colours as the current model. So you haven't got any different colours to worry about or any different shades. It's still the same Arctic white, Piccadilly, blue Westminster silver, dynamic red, pearl black. And customers will be able to place orders from August with deliveries of customer cars expected from September. So these cars are actually already on the water heading this way. So dealerships, most dealerships should hopefully be getting a demonstrator within the next couple of weeks, the new model as well. In terms of pricing, I said the long range model has got a £1,400 price increase compared to the original model. Now, at the moment, there's a promotion going on in the UK where you get £750 voucher if you do a test drive in an MG. That's not able to be used with the long range model. It can only be used with the 2020 model range. So you can use it on the previous model of MG5. So effectively that means the price difference is close to sort of £2,200 really between the old and the new model. But if you are a public sector worker, NHS, police, that sort of thing, then the affinity scheme continues to be available for this new model. The affinity scheme is a percentage discount, so the price point will be slightly higher still than the old model, but not drastically so. And so I'd just like to open it up really to everyone who's here. So Matt and Les, you're both MG5 owners currently. The other guys, Dave, Mike, you're all ZS EV owners. So I just wondered, would the addition of MG Pilot, the bigger range, the upgraded roof bars, make you consider upgrading for your current MG5 or ZS EV? Or would you want to wait for a cosmetic facelift in the future and that sort of thing? So if I can start with Matt, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I've only had mine now about 2.5 months. I'd be interested to know if we can get the upgrade roof bars to be bolted onto the current MG5. But as for upgrading the whole car, I wouldn't do it at the minute. I'd wait a bit longer. We bought into this one and I'm enjoying it. So I wouldn't want to get rid of one and find out I don't enjoy it for some other reason, some little quirk of the car didn't work quite right or whatever.
Okay. Les, what do you think about it? Obviously, roof bars was your project with this version. What do you think about the obviously the new news that it's going up to 75 kilos?
Well, it's good, Miles. It's very good, but I'm a little bit disappointed because they've been running this car now for about 9 months, 8 or 9 months, something like that. And in March, we was promised this new version to come. I don't know if you can see that or not on my screen, on my iPad.
Yeah, the European one, yeah.
We was promised this one. That it was going, that would be the next thing that came along. This was going to be the Mark II version. Now this is going to be the Mark III version. Because the one that they've done there now, I know it's only £1,400 of an increase in price, which I think is very good for the extra that's going on it. Well, personally, somebody buying it for the first time, it may increase the sales slightly because I would think one of the criticisms of the MG5 was the fact that it wasn't NCAP rated in any way, shape or form. And one of the reasons for that was the fact that it didn't have the electronics that the ZS has, i.e. the lane assist and automatic braking and all the others. Now this is going to come to the MG5 now, and it may well get a rating on the NCAP side of it, which will increase sales because you know as well as I do that lots of people, sadly, did cancel their orders when they found out about the repairs. There's quite a few orders I know for the fact that was scrubbed and cancelled and went elsewhere.
Oh no, we had that
People
issue ourselves. We had
Sorry?
several customers ourselves, yeah.
Yeah, people did cancel the orders, and it's sad really. They've had to do this now at this stage when we know there's another one coming online, and everybody knows now there's another one coming online in probably 12 months. So I don't know if it's going to help, but it's not going to help personally. I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that they're doing this now instead of fetching this other one, the Mark III as I've just called it, over a little bit sooner, which has got all them things on. And it also had the 75 kilo on the rails. It's also had a towing capacity, if I remember rightly.
Correct,
Which
yeah.
this one
I
has
think
not got a towing capacity.
I think the reason that they've done this, if I can jump in, I think the reason why they've gone with this upgrade now is because in terms of sort of engineering scale of production, it's easier for them to have one battery pack size in the factory than it is to have one the other. They will have they have their own gigafactory to sake, so they make their own batteries. But it's easier if they have one battery size, because effectively if they had a 44.5 kilowatt hour for the ZS EV, they've got, if they've got 51 or 52 for the MG5, they've then got the 60 for the MG5 in Europe, they've then got the 70 for the Marvel R, then there's quite a lot of different battery pack sizes, and that doesn't enable them to get the sort of cost of production down as much as they'd like to. So I think that's why they've gone for the same battery pack. And I think also, I suppose if it's a modest price increase and the market that MG is targeting with this car is clearly fleets generally, you know, people that are going to be doing a lot of long distance sort of thing. I think most of them will make, you know, will probably choose the higher battery just because they think, well, I know it's only an extra 30 miles or 40 miles, but that might be the difference between getting to the customer that day or not, you know. And so I think that it's that's my understanding for it. In terms of yeah, it's disappointing without the facelift immediately. I said this is down to homologation reasons. It's also partially Brexit related because now homologations done in Europe don't count in UK and vice versa. So that's caused some additional headaches with the right-hand drive market for Ireland, Cyprus, Malta, which are MG right-hand drive markets, but they're not part of, they're in Europe and we're not. So it means they've got to do the homologations again. So it just makes it all cost a bit more and take a bit longer, I think. In terms of your feedback, I think you're very fair with your feedback there, Les. I think in terms of it would be nice to see a towing capacity again. That's down to homologation. This has been done sort of as a mid-range update, which is what quite a number of dealers do, and lots of manufacturers
lots of
do.
people do it. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, a lot of manufacturers do this sort of mid-range upgrade. It's surprising, really, that they've done it so soon in the product cycle. But as I say, it's kind of, we got the MG5 in UK after it had been on sale in China as a Roe EI5 for quite a few years.
Right.
And then, you know, so we sort of got it at the tail end of that cycle. And then obviously Europe's getting the whole new cycle, which then, in terms of production, it must be horrendous to try and sort of balance it all out. Okay, in terms of Mike Fisher, we come to you. What do you think in terms of, you know, you've got an MG ZS EV at the moment. Would you stick with a crossover, or would you be more tempted towards it? If you were buying fresh today and you saw both cars in the showroom, you know, one with your sort of 160 mile range and this one with the 250 mile range, which would sway you, do you think?
That is a tough question. The battery would be high. I do like it a little bit raised. It's a little bit easier getting in and out of. It seems like maybe the battery would win out, possibly. But I do a lot of short journeys, so if the ZS was cheaper or substantially cheaper, I still might go ZS way.
Yeah, no, I see that. Yeah, it was quite a lot of there's quite a lot of people that you know, they value the crossover shape more than anything else, really. And like you say, you know, if you're also if you're driving is sort of 20-30 miles a day, you don't really need 250. It'll do with 150 so or less. So yeah, I think that's fair. Mike Proctor, would you?
Yeah, if I was buying new, I would seriously consider the 5. I like the higher riding position of the ZS. However, I don't think the 5 is that much lower.
It's not really, actually. Yeah, I've got both on my driveway. So wife's got the ZS and I've got the MG5, and an inch maybe. And I know my wife does say that an inch would make a difference, but
what it is, I think it's the door frame that's slightly, there's more room to get in and out of the door frame.
Yeah, don't hit your head as easily.
I always have to bang my head right forward to get in.
Yes.
Once I'm in, I'm fine. I've said this before. Once I'm in it, I'm fine. But getting in and out is a little bit, at times, a little bit cramped.
See, Les, I would have, a couple of weeks ago, I would have disagreed with you and said, oh, you know, I've never seen a problem with it. And then I pulled my back. And the next day, I hit my head on the door frame because I couldn't bend enough to get in. And I just went smack and right in the temple onto the door frame. So, yeah, I fully.
As I said at the time, I had a guy getting in my car a couple of weeks ago. He was 20, he must be 22 stone or something in that region. And we literally poured him into it because he just couldn't get on the thing. He was in, he was fine. He was quite comfortable. He loved the car. But getting in and out is a little bit tight. I remember on the forum a few months ago now, there was a disabled gentleman who was asking a lot of questions about the difference between the ZS and the 5. He wanted the 5 because he had one of these mobility scooters where he's got to assemble and take apart to get where he's going. And he fancied the 5, but I wrote and I said to him, I said, if you've got such problems that you can't do certain things because of your disability, I think you better go and try it first because it's not the easiest thing to get in and out of. Once you're in, it's fine. But getting into it is a little bit difficult at times. And as you say, you wake up with a bad back one morning, it's really difficult. It really hurts. But yeah, it's other than that, once you get in it, it's great. But there's not a lot of difference between the two. I've only ever sat, I've never driven the ZS. I've never been in one driving it. I've only sat in the showroom with one. And there didn't feel that much difference to me.
I haven't yet had a chance to sit in the 5 because I haven't been near a dealer which has had one in stock when they've been open to the public.
Yeah, that's COVID for you, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I do find getting in and out of the ZS is very easy. And knowing that there is an upgraded version of the ZS coming in the not too distant future, I would be tempted to wait until that had been released before I made my decision which way I wanted to go.
Yeah, that's fair.
I agree with you, Mike.
Yeah, Dave. Sorry, I'm continuing.
Yeah, I'm with the guys. I'm like an echo here because if somebody asked me for recommendation, I'd recommend the new 5 for the range capability. But if for myself, it's too low. I can't get in and out easily. I've got back problems, and you can know what difference that makes.
Okay. Would the do you think the addition of MG Pilot, Mike? You've done some videos before on MG Pilot functionality. Do you? Obviously, you've not sampled the MG5 without MG Pilot, but do you think that that's a worthwhile addition? You know, I say it's obviously contributing slightly toward the cost.
I personally don't know anything about it. I've never been in a car with one on. I don't know how it works. I know what it is. I understand how it works and what it does, but I've never actually experienced it. So I wouldn't like to say. Personally, I don't feel as though I need it for the kind of driving that I do now.
No,
I don't do that much distance work. Same with the battery. I mean, the battery I've got at the moment is ample, plenty. But yeah, occasionally, a couple of times a year, I'm going down to the South Coast or something like that. A little bit of battery would be nice, but the charging infrastructure is getting better and better, so not really much of a problem.
The new MG5 though is actually designed for long distance work, so it actually needs that function in it.
yeah, it is. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, with it being a fleet car, I think that particularly it's Mike, sorry, just come back to Mike Proctor.
Sorry, Mike.
That's all right. Yeah, so MG5 with Pro Pilot, not Pro, yeah, Pro Pilot.
MG Pilot.
MG Pilot.
Sorry.
It's the same Bosch system that's just been rebadged by both people. So
yeah, exactly. So it's very good. I've used it a lot. I've not used it a great deal over the last few months because of my broken leg, but I'm now back to driving the car on a regular basis and don't have to share it quite so much with my wife now because she's got her own car. So yeah, I was using it the other day. We had a long motorway. Well, it wasn't actually that long, but it was great. And I do use MG Pilot. It's a lot better than the Nissan's Mark 1 version, which I had before.
yeah, and actually, having driven a Tesla Model 3, I think it's actually better than the Tesla Model 3 Adaptive Cruise. I've not driven the full self-driving Model 3 software, but on the Adaptive Cruise and Lane Keep that I tried on the Tesla, I found it really poor, actually. I don't know if that's a Tesla-derived own version, whereas obviously, like I said, MG are using Bosch's system, which is the same as used by Mercedes and everyone else, and that's benefiting from all those other manufacturers, perhaps inputting their own data to help fine tune it a bit. But yeah, I'm going down to the EV show at the EVs in the Park at Warwick, isn't it, on Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone's around the sort of that sort of area. Sorry.
Coventry.
Coventry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Coventry.
Yeah, say not Warwick.
So sorry, the EVs in the Park in Coventry. On Saturday, if anyone's around, I'll be there during the day. I'll actually, I'm not going to be in an MG though. I'm actually, I've got a Kia Soul EV for the weekend that I'm doing a video on, so that's what I'm going to be turning up in. It is still EV. At least I'm not turning up in a diesel Qashqai. But yes, I'll be in a Soul EV. But it would be good to, if anyone's down there, it'd be good to meet up. I'll probably be down talking to the other MG owners down there. The weather forecast looks very good. Is there any chat, Mike, on the YouTube link? Anyone saying things what they think about the car?
Yes, lots and lots of
Well,
chat.
can I just add one thing about the MG Pilot? It's got
Yes.
the manual speed assist. Oh, sorry, manual speed assist, I think it's called.
Yes.
And that's the thing I use all the time. And so basically, you just set the speed, say 30 miles an hour in town. You cannot go faster than 30 miles an hour.
What's the speed limit?
It physically limits the speed of the car unless you override it by putting your foot right down to the floor.
It also has the the manual version, which you can set the speed yourself, or there's the intelligent one, which would be interesting to see how that actually pans out for us as to whether that's improved from the ZS. On the ZS, sometimes I find it was a bit spurious with some of the signs on side streets it pick up.
The camera on the ZS is crap at picking up the right road sign. The Nissan version was a lot better. Plus, the Nissan one is tied into the sat nav, and so it tells you the right speed. Whereas the MG has nothing into the sat nav at all that I found, and so it's the software side of the MG is pretty dire in my experience. I don't know whether the 5 is any better. I doubt it. I doubt if the long range one will be any better, as in on the EV side of things.
I guess we'll just see when the demonstrator comes. I'll get a demonstrator and do a video when it comes and see how.
Yeah.
See how long it takes me to.
I would think they're probably using the kit off the ZS and fitting into the MG5.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. But it'd be interesting to see if there's been any software changes. I think so. Mike, going back to you, feedback from the YouTube.
Yes. So the one I highlighted from Barry. Lots of cars have mid-cycle refreshes, so I don't see this as a version 2.0, but a version 1.5.
Oh.
And also one from Neil. So the MG5, this is off embargo then, and is the ZS update on embargo?
The ZS EV update has not been communicated to dealers like myself yet. So we know rumblings in the pipeline, and I know timescale wise, it's probably going to be around September when we get some news on that. And obviously we'll aim to bring the news to you first here as soon as we practically available. Obviously this news broke like 5 p.m. Friday for us. So we want to just make sure we got it straight on today on our next possible podcast once I had a chance to actually, get the information and put it all together in sort of presentation type thing. When we get some news on the ZS EV that's confirmed, because at the moment we haven't got any pricing, we haven't got the confirmed final statistics for WLTP or anything like that. We haven't got the visuals on how it's going to look, that sort of thing. So once all that's come through, we'll do another video very similar to this, where we roll out those and see what people think also. But yeah, that's probably going to be sort of mid-August to September.
Cool. Another one is, and this is more open to all of us. Why do you think MG's gone for a silent launch of this model? ? I suppose it leaves a couple of new MG5 owners feeling disappointed with the purchase.
Like I said, in terms of launching this, there's been a number of things. Obviously, they're not doing press launches so much at the moment because of COVID. This is a mid product change in the same way as you don't necessarily give a big press launch or a big launch behind something like a slight tweak on the gearbox on a Nissan Juke or something like that. They've changed it for a 5-speed to a 6-speed automatic. Let's say there wouldn't be a big press launch for that. This is aesthetically very, very similar. In terms, a similar sort of range, slightly bigger. It's got the MG Pilot on there, but I don't think it's. So that's why they've not gone for a full big sort of press launch. There will no doubt be a small article in Auto Express at some point this week where they say the model range has been included. There's one today for Nissan Leaf saying that it now comes with a new pedestrian warning sound. You know, so they get that sort of, you know, that's a rolling change that they've done. They've not done a big press launch about it, but somehow they managed to write more than 3 lines in Auto Express about it. So for the record, it sounds just like a wailing sort of noise called canto, which is the noise that they're going to use on the new Harrier as well. So when you put it into reverse, it sounds like a truck reversing. Anyway, so
Well, that's what Mike just said about somebody saying that perhaps current owners are not happy with the purchase. Well, I can't say that. I'm more than happy with my purchase. I'm more than
yeah, I think the thing is as well, obviously, there is going to be this price premium on the new model, and for some people who don't need the MG Pilot, or, you know, aren't inclined towards the MG Pilot software, I wouldn't see that as a sales point. Don't particularly need 200 miles of range, let alone 250. Then
if they'd done that in the first place, Miles, with the current car, it'd have been great. I'd have paid the extra 1,500 quid, no problem at all.
Yeah,
it would have been great, you know, if they'd have done that in the first place. But to do it now when we know there's another one coming, which is different again in many areas, the towing and the roof rails and the passenger seat being electrified as well on that one. I've noticed when I looked at the roads on it, I looked at the online thing on it. There's several things on that isn't on the current one, and of course it's a different style. It looks more modern, if you like, rather than the big chrome grille on the front, which I don't mind anyway. But lots of people have commented about big chrome grille; they don't like that. So that's the problem. But if they'd have done that from the off, put the Pro Pilot on and everything else that they're going to do now, I think they'd have sold them. And I'm convinced somewhere along the line, this has got something to do with the comments about the no NCAP rating on it.
yeah, we'll have to wait and see as to whether
ZS got 5 on it. It's got 5 stars, the ZS.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether this actually goes for NCAP testing or whether they wait for the facelift. Again, I'm not sure what the intention is at that point. I just looked on the chat. I just see that Casper's just asked, will it be possible to upgrade the existing MG5 exclusive to a bigger battery and an MG Autopilot? Everything's possible.
More than £1,400.
Everything's possible, but you'd be throwing an awful lot of money at it. You know, you'd have to. Well, in terms of adding the MG Pilot, you've got to add cameras and all sorts. So that's, I mean, you know, you'd rip the interior apart and start again. So I would say if you want to upgrade your existing MG5 exclusive to bigger battery and MG Autopilot, trade your old one in and get a new one is probably the most cost-effective way to do that. In terms of,
probably.
Sorry?
By thousands, probably.
I would imagine so, yeah.
But a lot of money in labour alone, swapping everything over.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that's just to clarify. Dave McLean is just asked, that's just squash. That's not beer. I'm sorry. It's not cider. It's not fruit cider. That is literally Aldi squash is that. So, yeah.
Also, Popcorn asked, "Where's the emotion?"
Well, good question. Over a year away, I've been told. We're still looking at sort of the very end of next year, start of 2023, I think, is what I've been told. But you know, they don't. Maybe they feed me misinformation. Maybe they feed me tidbits of misinformation so that they can see how much I'm leaking out to the public. Maybe that's their plan all along. But this was sent out to all MG dealers. I'm fairly confident in this MG5 information. But no, I think that personally, I think it's a good thing. I think that MG's done the right thing by making this available. If the technology's there, then yeah, sure. I think, you know, if the bigger battery's there and it's not a massive increase in cost, I think that it makes it worthwhile thing to do.
Attractive.
And I think if you're pricing it, you know, obviously, as I say, we sell a number of different brands of car. Nissan,
you know, it doesn't make it attractive to me with a car that's only a few months old to say, oh, this one's got a bigger battery, I'm going to trade this in and get the other one.
Yeah, no, I get that, Les. I do get that.
Maybe 12 months down the road, so maybe. But at the moment,
I'll hold you to that, Les. I'll hold you to that. I'll chase you up for the new model. Like I say, I think that for me, I think, you know, if you look at the other cars that can do sort of 250 miles real world, which I have to say doesn't really include the Nissan Leaf E+, because in my experience, that's struggling to get 200 miles in winter. I would say that probably the range of the E Plus is very, very similar to the MG5 current model, if not slightly worse, from my experience. With the heat, particularly in winter, with the battery temperatures really not ideal. But to get an E Plus end connector is, I think, £31,000 after the government grant. So this, and that's not the top spec. It's not got leather. It's got heated seats, admittedly, and it's got round view cameras, but it doesn't come with ProPilot unless you pay the extra £450. So you're looking at sort of 31.5 grand for the Leaf, and that's ultimately a smaller car, less range than this new facelifted MG5. So I think that, it's encouraging. I think that it makes us think that that MG aren't trying to price themselves out of the market. They know their segment. They know they've got a real slot in the market for a competitively priced car, and I think that that's where they're going. What was the other questions we were going to ask? Oh yeah, just where are we? Totally lost my thing. So we think it does probably represent value for money given the extra kit that's on there. I think that £1,400 for an extra
definitely value.
9 kilowatt-hour battery, I think it's probably quite reasonable, really, isn't it? Because think about how much battery prices were. Certainly, 24 kilowatt battery was like £7 grand or something. So to get an extra 9 kilowatts for £1,000, £1,400 extra, and the ProPilot as well, and these upgraded roof bars, I think that's pretty cost effective, really.
Very good. If you're going in for a brand new one you've never run before, you've got to say, right, I'm not buying this one. It's coming in September. I'll have the other one in September.
Yeah.
£1,400. I would personally. I'd wait till September. I'd order it now, or whenever you can order it, August. I'd order it and I've done it. But we've got the one that came out first, and we're going along with that at the moment, as far as I can see. I'm not going to change mine anyway.
No. I think probably what you've all said. I think the general consensus is, had you not bought the car already, you'd have been quite tempted. But you're quite happy with what you've got because you know what you've got decently works for you and everything else.
Definitely. Love the car.
Okay. There was some news I saw earlier actually about MG sales in Europe. I saw in Sweden they've outsold Tesla this last month, which is pretty good going.
Yeah, the Sweden, it looks like there are a lot of dealers were also pre-registering before the tax changes as well. So that's played with the figures a lot.
But surely that'll have happened with Tesla as well. People would have. Normally Tesla has a big push at the end of the quarter, so June is normally a big month for Tesla. So I think it's pretty. It shows that the brand's certainly getting out across Europe as well, which is very good. So yeah, has anyone else got any feedback they'd like to give on the MG5 facelift? Is anyone who wants to have an extra 5 pence to say about it?
Can you repeat that, Miles? I didn't get that.
So does anyone else have any feedback they want to give on the MG5? Anyone, Matt, do you want any other comments at all?
It looks a good vehicle, and to be honest, if this was released a couple of months ago when I was buying mine, I'd probably have waited for this one because that extra 30 miles range is actually useful for me. A couple of weekends ago, I was down in Brighton and I had a full load of car, and unfortunately, it was on the cusp of the actual range. I had to stop and charge. And if I had the extra 30 miles, it would have meant I didn't have to charge.
Yeah, I suppose it's going to be how often, I suppose for most people, it's how often you're going to need that extra 30 miles range.
Yeah.
And whether it's worth, if it's going to be an occasional thing, it's cheaper to pay, for a £5 for your rapid charge for a few minutes than it is to obviously pay 1,400 quid for the battery upgrade. But if it was going to be a regular thing, I think this is where your fleet users come in. If you're a fleet user and you're going to do high mileage in a day, then I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure Stuart Whitman would appreciate it very much because he does a lot of miles every day. He travels a lot, and he would be well happy with the extra range. But for me personally, 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times a year, I'm doing over 200 miles at one go. So it's not really a problem. I can just park. I can just take my time, and I'm on no rush. I can take my time and charge up when I need to. But for people who's working, like Stuart, they've got to get there and back, and they want to do it without charging it. They can possibly do it, and that would be helping the end. I'm sure it will 30 miles, 30, 40 miles. Make a big difference.
Dave, is there any other further questions on YouTube we need to address? Microphone. Dave, microphone.
Yeah, just trying to get it. I've got multiple screens up, and it's difficult. Yeah. No, there are a couple of people expressing some chagrin at the uplift, but I guess you always get that. But I think the general consensus is that yes, they would have bought that one if it had been available. So
Also, one question. Calva asked, will the cruise control on the 5 use regen, or will it just use brakes like the ZS?
Good question, Kabir. I don't know is the answer. Until I've tried the demonstrator, I don't know. They've not said anything in the literature would make me think it operates any differently to the ZS. I would prefer if it didn't. I would prefer if it used regen, obviously, but I will find out. If it does use regen on MG Pilot, that would be a good indication that that feature might be coming to the ZS EV in the future, which would be welcome. I will have to check and refer back if that's okay. I don't know. I don't know at the moment.
Does the HS have MG Pilot?
It does.
Does that have regen on it?
No.
Right. Okay.
Doesn't the speed limiter function as per the ZS does as well, doesn't it, on the speed limiter, but it doesn't on cruise. So yeah, pass. Don't know. Oh, and Dave McLean, I think, has asked, is there an app for the new MG5? No, there is not an app for the new model of the MG5. I presume that the technology isn't in the car to be able to do that. I presume it doesn't have the SIM connection, etc.
Dave also asked if is any more of the current MG5 coming to the UK, or are we just selling stock off?
There's some that's already in Portbury in
Bristol.
in MG's sort of holding location. There are certain colours that will become more difficult to get hold of. I think silver's currently not available anymore. So if there's a particular colour you want, you might be struggling. You might be forced into the new version. But we've got stock ourselves. We've got about 20 in stock. When we saw that the stock was getting low, we bought some in for stock because we wanted to make sure we had, in case there's any delays. You never know what's going to happen. You get some sort of ship stuck in the Suez Canal and everything goes to pot, doesn't it? So we're thinking that we've got 20 or so in stock. That'll see us through for another month or two, and then as I said, the new delivery should start from September, hopefully. So you can place orders now, or certainly very soon. I think we're waiting for, if you're buying on finance, I think we're waiting for the finance figures to be fed through to the quoting system. But you can put a deposit down, and it's not going to be massively different to where they are now, to be fair.
And just ask Mark, what do you think, from the trade point of view, what do you think it will do to second-hand values of the current model?
Well, because I don't think it's going to be massively different because it's not. I think possibly because it's not a cosmetic change, it's probably going to have less of an impact. I think if we had a brand new model which had the new bumpers and everything like that, I think that potentially that would make the old stock look older.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that effectively the cars parked next to each other, they're going to look identical. They're going to have the same wheels, unless you choose your option wheels. They're going to, they look identical. They've also, because I know some people were concerned, they'd heard some rumours that the extra range would be done by using a lower power motor or something like that, that it would reduce the power of the motor to be able to get more range out of the car. That's not the case. From the figures that MG have given us, the power is identical, the acceleration is identical. I say it's 15 kilos weight difference, so it's not. My weight varies by more than 15 kilos in a year, probably. So it's not going to make any big difference in terms of performance. As it's expected that we're going to sell through the existing model by September, probably by the time the new model comes through. If you're in the market for a bargain, I would imagine that you're going to be able to pick up the older model I say at a more preferable price with this voucher scheme that's running for the test drives, etc. That helps. You know, it's a slight sweetener on there as well. But I don't think that used value should take a big hit because, as I say, it looks identical. It's not. It's like when the Leaf changed from.
Yeah.
It's like when the Leaf
And
changed
also, what's the sales been like on the MG5? Have they picked up? Have they dropped off? Anything changed in the last 8 months?
We've been doing very well with MG5 sales. We've got a number of fleet orders in.
Good.
I've got a local council that's looking at ordering just about 20 cars, for example. So there are some, some larger fleet orders coming in. I think that that's going to be. I mean, this is all day long. This car suits so well the taxi market and the fleet. You know, your people that drive around in Astra estates or Priuses at the moment, in some case taxis. You know, this is prime prime car for them. So I think that's
ideal replacement for the Prius. Ideal.
Yeah, so I think that's the case. I've just seen one last thing. Somebody's asked on the forum, on the thing. Will there be any extra discounting for the current model? We just answered that. Sorry. A performance variant with niftier wheels and better suspension. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen my wife's car, you'll know that I'm a sucker for putting tinsel on cars. You can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter. So that's always been my sentiment all the way through. So yeah, some nice Larry wheels on it, and why not? But yeah, so well, I think that's sort of it for the MG5 podcast today. So let me just go back to my script so I know what I'm actually supposed to say now, and I've done this job before. Right. Before I go, there's a few things I want to bring to everyone's attention. We're going to be, we'd like to meet up with other MG EV owners on Saturday, this Saturday, coming the 17th, at EVs in the Park event at the Coventry War Memorial Park. Look out for me and Stuart Wright and other MG owners at the EZoo tent at 12:30 p.m. Anyone with an MGHS plug-in hybrid out there, we'd really like to hear from you. We've sold some, so we know that there are a lot out there. But out of the 3 MG electrically powered vehicles, it's probably the one we cover the least, and we'd like to rebalance that. If you drive an HS or you're actively looking at purchasing one, please get in touch with us. We'd love to know more about what people are thinking, how the plug-in limitations, but also freedoms by having an engine as well, how it works for you. It's certainly got some great comments about the interior, etc. a few weeks ago, but how is it to drive? How is it working out for you? How's your MPG going, etc.? Also, please have a look at our merchandise. Please check it out, and to make that easier, there's a link to the shop in the forum menu. And finally, if you'd like to support us, please consider MG EV's forum premium membership for just £3 a month. It gives you the premium member badge, the ability to upload a profile banner, the ability to select the MG Red theme, a discount code for MG EV's merchandise. It's a full 10% discount when you use the code, and you're helping to support the community and this podcast. So that's it for the EV podcast this week. My thanks to Les Burrows.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Matthew Todd, Michael Fisher,
Evening all.
Mike Proctor,
Evening.
Dave Bell.
Right.
We will be back with the MG EVs podcast soon. Please click all the likes and subscribes. We really appreciate that. Thank you and good night all.